says that?
Says people all the time.
Who?
It is the dumbest thing I've heard in my life.
Wait,
yeah.
I have never.
You have never heard this? Yeah, people say this.
What circles are you in?
No.
I think the best place to start is giving people in their first year of business advice. So if you could go back and you could give us advice in our first year, what would it be?
I think the most important thing I would do if I was to restart again is just really understand the one most important thing that would move the needle the most and put all of my efforts into doing that one thing. Because when everything is new and you feel like there's so much to do, it's quite overwhelming to be like, I should be focusing on product development and I could be doing influencers and I could be doing ads and I want to make my website better and all these different things. But the reality is that just doing one thing really, really, really well will move the needle much further. And in that time, I first of all, I didn't even know what that one thing was.
But I feel like we did that. Like, don't you remember in our first year of starting the business, right? Like, remember after we hired like our first like packaging people, because initially it was like just the packaging that was taking up so much time, right? But then the formula and everything was done,
right.
And we weren't even worrying about the website because like we like, remember you did the Shopify, like a horrible, awful Shopify theme. Yeah. So after that, when we saw that we had traction with influencers, we kind of put all our effort into that one thing as it is.
We did. No, you're right. We did. But in the same year, once we had figured that out.
Yeah.
So once we had figured that out, when it came to the next thing,
we didn't know
how to do it very, very, very well.
Or even what it was, really.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't know what it was, and we didn't know how to do it the best in the world. So I think one thing is like figuring out, okay, this is the thing that I need to do. Mm-hmm. And the second of all is figuring out how to do it better than everybody else. And so I would have spent way more time. So for example, say like right now, I'm like an ads wizard. Like I really understand that platform and how to buy ads, like really, really, really well.
How to buy wizards
around it. But I wish I knew that. I wish I knew this level of this depth of knowledge back in the day. And so I think really it's just about having that sense of knowledge to be better than everybody else at it. And I think that being better at a very specific thing than everybody else has outsized returns. It's not just knowing how to be good at it, but being like the top 1% of it. I think that would be really, really good to spend time on being good at that.
I agree. Also, I think that there's something to be said about founders cultivating a specific skill set around that one thing. So for example, when people hire on, like, say, for example, an agency for ads, or like in our case, like say, for example, influencers, right? I think what really helped in our first year specifically, like, let's just talk about influencers, because that's something that we did exceptionally well in our first year. It was because I was so hands-on, and I think like I was just really good at it. And then right now, I think the reason ads are so successful isn't because you've like offloaded the whole thing, but it's because you know it in and out. Like, you yourself are the expert. So I feel like there's, yes, like you should definitely hire people who are really good at what they're doing. But at the same time, like for things that are like the biggest needle movers, I think the founders also need, like, especially in the early days, a certain level of proficiency over the thing.
I completely agree. There's this good saying that like you never delegate life or death things.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, delegating something that is probably going to move the needle on your business the most, it doesn't really make sense, especially if you have the skill set to be able to do it more.
Absolutely,
and if you know that this is really, really important to you. And so actually to date, what I do is I will hire people to do more things that I'm not good at and do more things that I know they could not do better than me, so that I can just do more and more and more of what I'm fantastic at, and then everybody else can do what they're really, really good at. But I completely agree with you.
Okay, so then I have a question. What if the thing that you were really bad at was ads, okay? Like, and that's like a pretty needle moving thing.
Yeah.
So say, for example, you and I start this business and like we just both suck at ads, okay? Like, you're also very, what is it? Am I left-brained or right-brained? What am I?
I don't know, Sif.
Okay, but we're like the same brain together, okay? So then would you encourage that person then to start learning the thing that they're bad at because it's so good for the business?
No, I actually don't think so at all. In fact, I actually think you should only be starting a business that you single-handedly have an advantage because you're so good at one thing that applies directly to that business. And so if your business requires for ads to be phenomenal, then maybe you should not be starting that business. You should actually probably be starting a different type of business. And so if you're really bad at something, then it's really important to hire someone to do that. But if you're really good at something, it's important for you to really quadruple down on what you're really good at. In fact, my thinking on this has come to the point where I actually think you kind of know what you are good at / your interests are way earlier than you think. So I think you kind of know these things maybe even in college. So like for me, I had an inkling of what I thought I was good at.
I agree.
And I actually think that there is 0 point in trying to learn to be good at things that you don't really see yourself being really, really good at. I actually think you should spend 100% of your time only focusing on the things that you have an inkling that you're good at and achieving absolute mastery in them. You know those people that say, I am smart enough to be dangerous in this. I actually hate when people say that. It drives me nuts. They're just wait, that actually means you know nothing. When someone says,
who says that?
Sif, people all the time.
Who?
It's the dumbest thing I've heard in my life.
Wait,
yeah.
I have never.
You have never heard this? Yeah, people say this.
What circles are you in?
No. Sif, I'm telling you. They're like, look at me. I know enough about coding to be dangerous. You know what that means? They know nothing about coding. They know zilch. I hate when people say that.
When they say that, do they mean that they've just like not cultivated to expert level because they'd be
they
like
have cultivated to shit level, Sif. That's what that means, Sif. You know, when I used to work in tech, okay, half these product managers, they would come to me. That's just so cool that you used to be a software engineer. I myself have also read some books about coding, and I am knowledgeable enough to be dangerous. It's so dumb. Anyway, and my point is that you're not don't even read the book. You know, if it's something that you're not going to get, then don't even read it. Just lean really into it. And this does not mean that you should be open-minded and curious and learn about other things. That's not my point. My point is, where are you spending your time developing mastery? And I think you should develop mastery in the things that bring you a lot of interest and also in things that you'll be very, very good at. And so you can move the needle forward, whether it's in your business or learning or whatever that might be. But that's what I think.
I actually agree with you. And I think I mean, this is not necessarily to do with business, but I do feel like it's to do a lot with the schooling system and even parenting, you know, I remember being so bad at math, so bad at math, but then I was so good at other things. But I think the focus in schooling and also actually to less degree my parents, but I would say a lot of schooling was berating me for the things that I was bad at instead of really seeing what I was exceptional at and allowing me to gain mastery over that. So I think you may not have the freedom to do that when you're in school, but I think being cognizant of that when you're an adult and really honing in on it is super important.
I completely agree.
Okay, so we are obviously talking a little bit about hiring, and this is a question that often comes up when I'm speaking to people about how we hire, what I guess what our framework is, and then after that how we build a strong team as well. So let's talk about hiring. How do we hire?
So I would say the most crucial thing when it comes to hiring for me is that when someone enters a team, they are leveling the team up.
Yeah.
So this is very important because I believe that, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, where is this person going to fit in? And what is their role going to be? And what is the structure and hierarchy of what this person's going to be? Are they going to be director level, this level, that level? That is actually the last thing that's on my mind. For me, I'm like, is this person, first of all, am I hiring them because they're a specialist in something, or am I hiring them because they're a generalist in something? And second of all, in either scenario, are they someone who is better than the average person I've hired before? Because that way, if they're better, then they'll level up the team regardless of what they're doing. And then the other thing that I really care about is, are they going to be someone who is smart enough to be able to also bring up the people that they're working with and make them better versions of themselves? Because I think that when you're hiring people, whether it's a leader role, which means that they have people that are reporting up to them, or even they're working on their own, I really believe that it is their responsibility to make sure that they provide a role clarity, which is kind of this idea of they know exactly what they're doing. They provide the strategic clarity, and they also provide personal development. And so what I mean by that is those three things are what a leader in the company should provide. So when someone is reporting up to this person, they should say, okay, I work for Sif. Sif is so good at telling me what the overall strategic plan of the company is, what exactly the person should be doing, like very, very detailed roles of what they should be doing. And lastly, I feel empowered to be able to do those kinds of things. And I think that the people that we hire all should be able to provide that level of kind of feedback and understanding to anyone they work with or anyone who works for them. So that I really look for that trait in someone when I'm hiring more than anything else. But
I also I think the importance of, I guess the saying hire slow, fire fast. I think that that's also something that we do really well in the sense that we're really slow to hire the right type of people. And I think also, I mean, sometimes it happens fast because I feel like when it's a quick yes. And if you're unsure about it, I feel like it's just a no. I just think that that's kind of how it goes with hiring as well. So much of it is a gut feeling also.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there's certain scenarios where hiring is, you need to hire very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And so I think that I really agree with you. And I think we've done that many times. However, there's certain places, Sif, where people have hired people just because of their background and resumes. And sometimes they've hired people just because they need to hire and they need to fill up certain roles.
Yeah.
I think that there's always a base level that you must meet when you're hiring someone.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, it's okay, within one interview, it's actually so easy to find out what the person's attitude is and whether they have some base level of skill set. So I think it's so completely okay to hire someone very quickly if they meet a very base threshold of what they're doing. And then you look at what they're doing over the next 3 months. In fact, I also say, we both say this, we're like, hey, listen, this is the base level of what you to expect when you come in here. If you don't work really, really hard, and if you don't, complete what we're asking you to do on time, and you don't actually execute on the work that you're doing, then don't join the team.
Yeah.
And so setting the expectations up front is also really important. And if they don't do well, then letting go of the person is actually a favor for both them and you, because it's probably not favorable for either one of us.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because I think a lot of people, they look at Arrae and they're like, oh, it's so fun. And we have a really strong team culture, but and yes, we have fun, but it's we're the hardest working people that I know. Our team, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's a lot of alignment in everyone's work ethic, which I think is also why there's no drama within our team, because it's not someone is not working hard enough and then they're blame shifting it onto the next person. You know what I mean? There's such alignment on what everyone is doing and just clarity. And so I think everyone takes responsibility for what they're supposed to do. And so I think that if someone does mess up, there's full understanding that they're not trying to cut corners, if that makes sense.
I completely agree.
So I agree, that base level is so important. And okay, I want to talk about the red flag that we both have during the job interview process.
Which one?
Okay, what's the question that you it's you hate more than anything when someone asks you during an interview?
Wait, what is it?
When you're interviewing someone for a role,
yeah,
there's a question that we both think is so stupid when someone asks.
So remind me, I actually don't remember.
Work-life balance.
Oh, the work-life balance. Oh, I just leave the call. I just hang up and I leave the call. No, this sounds really bad. It's not people don't have work-life balance.
Of course they have work-life balance, but when you ask that to me during an interview, I'm like, we give that to you, but is that your only priority when you're starting,
this is my thing, and I'll be very clear about what this means, because I think that work-life balance is essentially just asking hey, do I have time to do my own thing, okay? And I think that obviously you have your time to do your own thing.
And we grant people a lot of, we don't babysit people. We don't really care.
No, for sure. But I think that that question actually stems usually from this place of, I'm afraid of hard work.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where it stems from, because, and I don't see this for the general population, but Sif, in general, these large companies, I've been there, I've seen this in technology companies. These people will roll in at 10, 11 p.m., a.m., and then roll out at 3 and take an hour or 2 hour coffee break in between. This is an actual reality. This is a real thing that actually happens. And so, And this is exactly why you can see half these companies have laid off so many people, and they're actually more efficient than before. And there's all this big labor pool that is, recently let go. And it's such a sad thing, but that's a reality because these companies can become more efficient. And so what's happened is there's a culture, unfortunately, of people being afraid of hard work. And then there's the other side where, for us, as example, we're doing so well, and we're doing well because we're not afraid of the hard work. And we actually thrive in hard work, and it feels so good to be number one at something. And our employees feel so good to be part of this thing that's number one, right?
But also, I think that because, remember I said this alignment piece?
Yeah.
I think because everyone takes ownership of what they're doing and they don't shy away from hard work, if someone needs to I don't know, go for a walk in the middle of the day or have an appointment, then we don't care. As long as the work is done,
For sure. And also, I think that, just like you and I, we talk about this all the time. We're like, Seth, we've really figured out how to be in the groove to be able to work so hard but not completely kill ourselves. Because we talk about taking frequency of breaks, whether that's a long weekend or whether that's a week off, and then taking time to go work out every single day, taking time to go on walks all the time. And so we actually have such a good routine around the way we work and how we manage our time that we tell our team what works for us so they can do the same thing. And so if you and I, who work such ridiculous hours, have all these things that we need to do in order to find breaks in the day to make the brain work better, to have clarity in what we do, and just to feel more relaxed throughout the workday, then that's what everybody needs to be doing. And so obviously you have to be in a place of relaxation and just calmness if you want to be able to maximize the output of your work. But these things really go hand in hand.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so speaking of hiring teams, all of that stuff, can we talk about the processes that we have in the company? How does someone apply structure when they're starting out? What are the most important things, would you say?
Well, I mean, for us, we've done such a good job at the top fives. I think that's one of the major things.
Yeah. So what I want to do is narrow it down to even when someone is starting out. And I think top fives is a really good place to start because I think everyone can do top fives. You can have a team of 2, you can be one single founder, or a team of 50, and
Yes.
the top fives is applicable. So let's explain how we do top fives.
Absolutely. So I think that, what I said, those 3 things that really matter, which is strategic clarity, role clarity, and personal performance. Okay, so those 3 things, they can really be put into the top 5. So what that means is that you have, hey, this is when you started. First of all, here's what the company is looking to do this year, and so we really want to be able to achieve these things as a company this year. For you, this boils down to you doing these 5 very, very important things this month, and in order. And when we say that, we say, okay, in order, because if you must, no matter what, get this one thing done, and then you must get the second thing done, and then you must get the third thing done. These 3 things they're actually written in detail. So we get them to write out exactly what they're doing, the numbers that matter behind it, how long it might take to do, and why they need to do it. And these top 5s are sometimes almost a page to 2 pages long because they're so detailed in what exactly needs to be accomplished. And it allows to provide clarity on exactly what needs to be done and the priority of what needs to be done, so that there's huge amounts of focus in what they need to accomplish that month. And anything else that comes in your way is absolutely not a priority, or it moves on to the next month.
I think also we've talked about this, and our team knows this as well, but top 5s are a really good way for people to have mini performance reviews every single month so that nothing is a surprise, really, because we're kind of doing this review. So when we do our top 5s, we review what happened the month prior. So the results from the last month's top 5, and then going into the next month's top 5, which I think makes reviews, it's never nothing's getting you from a place that you don't know, it's all very clear and out there.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually think that what's really cool is in our top 5s, to give us a discussion to discuss actually very, very important things like your performance, your expectations, your salary, your bonuses. So the thing is that, and you're revisiting this every single month. And so when things are going well, it's hey, we discussed that this is where you want to get to in terms of all of your personal career goals, and you're currently tracking. And so there's 12 touch points, or however frequent you want to give someone a raise or whatever that might be. But there's 12 touch points to be able to tell someone and give them feedback as to how they're doing. And so whenever the time comes for whether it's giving them a raise or telling them that they're not going to get the raise, they know exactly what they need to be able to do it. And what's really awesome is that as a company is heading their goals and they're going to hit their goals, then it is so clear that they're going to get whatever they need to get. And if that's not happening, then it's so clear why they wouldn't get it. Mm-hmm. And it just really allows us to all be on the same page. And if you do this really well, then we're going to hit the goal no matter what. And so you're going to get what you wanted no matter what. And so it actually just is such a positive thing.
I agree. Also, I have a tip for people who are like, say, for example, with certain members of our team, the top fives kind of evolve because the nature of the work is like so quickly evolving as well. So the most direct example that I have is Claire, because it's social media and things change really quickly in the role. So with someone like that, and I mean, this could be different in everyone's company, but like for like in our company, I feel like that's a very relevant example. I have weekly check-ins with her for her top five, because if something needs to change, like say, for example, like, I don't know, like with TikTok, there's like a recent change in the app and like we need to change strategy, then we're still aware of like what needs to change. And then that way, like 4 weeks haven't gone by and then like we get to the top five review and she's like, oh, I didn't do anything,
Yeah.
So like everyone's kind of aligned on why the priorities shifted and like what moved down and what moved up, basically. So I think like that's also a really good tip for anyone who's wanting to implement this.
Agreed.
Okay. Other things is weekly team check-ins. I feel like is really important for company processes. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really important. What I like to do is I really don't like these mandatory big check-ins all the time, because sometimes these check-ins, you really want to be able to make them really useful and helpful.
Yeah, so agendas.
Yeah, you need to have an agenda. It's like any other meeting. And so what is the point in, because I remember I used to be part of these really, when I used to work for the companies.
Yeah, but that was all hands. Like I'm not talking about all hands.
So what are you talking about?
I'm talking about like team check-ins. So say, for example, like how the ops team has a meeting every week, I think, right? You guys have a week.
Oh, yeah.
And like same with our marketing team has like a meeting check-in every single week.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have an agenda, and like if there's like literally nothing, like this happened like 3 weeks ago for the marketing team where, we were like, what's on the agenda? And there was like nothing on the agenda because we just cleared it. It was like after launch or whatever. Then we skip it, obviously. But like having those like micro team check-ins, I think is really important for everyone to align and figure out what everyone's working on.
Yeah, I think the bigger point of having these things is essentially to make sure that your organization is structured in the correct way. And I think that what's really important is that as the org grows, you have people that really need to make sure that they're talking to each other to make sure that different parts of your business are operating in conjunction with each other. Because a lot of times, something that happens in marketing will affect operations, will affect the social media team, which will affect the finance team. And so it's really important that everybody's kind of on the same page. And so having structures in place to make sure that people are talking to each other is why you have kind of these check-ins. But just like you said, not a single meeting happens without the agenda, and it especially does not happen if there is nothing major to talk about. So I don't like the act of recurring things without a very specific agenda and like a project goal to get to. Otherwise, it's a complete waste of time. Yeah.
Agreed. So on that note, obviously, like speaking of like processes and like these sorts of like meetings and all of that. For example, when we have a product launch coming, or like say, for example, Black Friday, like things like that, where it's like an initiative that's coming. I remember earlier days where the teams weren't communicating with each other and then things would go wrong. Like say, for example, we wanted to do something from a marketing initiative and then like, I don't know, the ops team wasn't made aware of it. So then there was like an inventory shortage, or like, I don't know, like we're doing Black Friday and the ops team knows everything, but then the marketing team doesn't know. And so then like we miss it on social media or whatever. So I think like just elaborating on how we have meetings for these like bigger initiatives as well, so everyone aligns as well. So like, for example, like how we set it up on
so
the deck that Tatiana does.
Okay. So I think that what we do is sometimes there's really large projects that we just know we need to plan for. And so when it comes to really large projects, what we'll say is that, okay, here's the different aspects of your project. So we'll map it out because we know kind of that there's let's go through a product launch as an example. So we know there's marketing that needs to be done around it. And when we say marketing, there's actually like very specific parts. So there's email marketing, there's ads, there's
social media.
There could be an event around it. There could be
influencers,
whatever.
Mailers, all the different things.
All of these different things. And so we actually write down every single aspect of the marketing, action points, and then we say, okay, here's the plan, here's when we're doing it, what is the due date, what are the initiatives, and so we discuss that. Then we have to also discuss, okay, from an operations perspective, what are the when do we need to have inventory in the warehouse?
It's like a work back schedule, essentially.
A work back schedule. Then we'll also go back and then we'll discuss, okay, what channels are we going to be launching this on? Okay, what is the launch strategy? What is the sell-through strategy post-launch? What is the creative look like for this? What does the inspiration look like from a mood board perspective? What is the social media feed going to look like? And so we'll have all these on a deck, and we'll go through these, especially when it's a blue sky project that we haven't really thought through, and we'll think through these. But the thing is, we come to the meeting prepared so that we're not wasting everybody's time talking about something that other people don't know about. So when we come to the meeting, every person will actually fill it out in advance before we go to the meeting. Then we are discussing to get the right people's opinions, and then we are doing this all in one page so we're all aligned on the due dates and when it's launching and what's happening. And then as time goes by and as we gain more clarity on the project, we actually start splitting people up so that the meetings actually become shorter and shorter. And also, not everybody needs to be there to listen to everybody else. But initially, it just helps so much so that everybody's on the same page. And actually, each one of these is only an hour long.
Yeah, it's never more than an hour. Hour at the very most.
At the very most. And within about 3 weeks of doing this, everyone has full understanding of exactly what the project's going to be about. So it's really just 3 hours of everybody's time, and then you know exactly what you're doing.
But then also, like, for example, do you remember last Black Friday when we like pivoted everything last minute? And that was because of a meeting like this where we all poked holes at what we were doing, and like we were like kind of like doing it live on the spot. And so like I think also having opinions from multiple people on the team whose brains work in a different way is really important, because that's how you nail down the right offer as well.
Agreed.
So I think like these sorts of meetings are incredibly important when you're nailing down something final.
Agreed.
Okay, so I want to move on to some audience questions that we had.
All right, let's do it.
Okay, so the first one actually, like there's a bunch that we have time for now. I'm going to try to get through. The first one is retailers. What are your thoughts? What's the right time to get in, and how do you pitch them?
Well, so I think this is really product based. I think that in many cases, it is really important to build a brand and build your online business first to get some understanding of what your product is going to do, and then expand into retail. Mm-hmm. I think that when you get into retail, you need to sell the product in retail. And so just getting into retail is not enough. Getting people to know that you're in retail and getting them to buy your product is a completely different challenge. And what's really crazy is that when you're on a website, you can do such a good job of telling your story around your brand, your product, and why you founded the company. But you absolutely cannot do that in the retail store. And so you must remember that it takes time to develop these things and for the consumer to really understand who you are, what you do, build credibility. So I'm a big proponent of building your brand and building out your story first over a very long period of time, and then expanding into retail one by one to kind of get the peripheries of your consumer one after another.
I also think that what it allows you to do then is you have more leverage when you're going into retailers, because I think the more your brand is known, the more conviction the retailers have that the product will sell through, which is obviously something that everyone wants. Like no one wants to bring on a brand that they don't know if it'll do well or not. Mm-hmm. So I feel like you just go into those conversations with a lot more power.
I completely agree. And by the way, that there is a complete counterpoint to this, which is that this really only works if you have a high gross margin business. If you have a low gross margin business, then you maybe need to be retail only.
Yeah,
and in fact, that could be a very, very good strategy for you. But in that scenario, you really need to know exactly why you're going to retail, why the retailer is going to believe in you to go in, because you have a really, really strong marketing strategy. This is what a lot of influencer-based brands do, because they have the ability to be like, hey, I'm the biggest celebrity, and so when we go in, everybody's going to know who this is anyway. So it really depends, but I completely agree.
I think the other thing to point out is like the stepladder approach that we kind of have employed, whereby I think people don't realize, especially when you're like new to this world, you don't realize how difficult retail is. And it's not just from a marketing standpoint, but it's also from an operations standpoint. Like things go wrong, like something could arrive damaged. Like how do you even deal with retailers? Like, there's like so many nuances to it. So I feel like doing it so that you learn from your mistakes at every stage and kind of refine the process is so much better than like, going completely in over your head with a large retailer and you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is completely crazy. Like going into a very large one, especially, is really
Oh
bad.
my gosh,
I
it'll
think
kill you.
It'll actually kill you. And so, yeah, I have nothing to add to what you said, Sev.
Okay. Next up is owning a business together. What are the challenges and how do we have systems?
I think the most challenging thing is the business is when the business is doing well, it actually takes up all your time. And contrary to popular belief, a good, fast growing, really amazing business does not mean that things get less busy. They actually get more busy, they take up more of your life, they take up more space in your mind. And so, especially between you and I, it is so difficult to find separation between personal life and the business life. But I mean, our lives are absolutely amazing because we get to celebrate this thing together and we get to grow together. I think it was really cool. I had the Facebook images pulled up from 13 years ago. How long have you been together? 12 or 13?
12 years.
12 years. So for 12 years ago, when you and I were babies, right? And I just think back to that time where just think of how stupid we were, Sif, and how much time we were spending doing nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I would go to Sif's room, she'd come to my room, we lived in the same dorm together. Like, I would just be, shooting this shit with her, God knows, just basically trying to flirt with her so she would date me. And so she would be doing the same thing with me. And so, we had so much time to do basically nothing. And so, as the business grows, that really takes more of your time. And I think that it's very impossible to say. It's actually next to impossible to say that, we have systems in place that allow us to really split this time perfectly. That's actually not the truth at all. In fact, the truth is that we spend majority of the time thinking and working on the business. But the 20 to 30% of time that we spend just on our own, it is so much better because first, we were able to do certain things that we would have never imagined we were able to do before. We were able to celebrate the wins of our business together. We were able to plan our future together. We were able to travel and take trips. And, when we were taking that time off, we were taking it off because we feel so accomplished of what we did together. And so that 30% of time that we have that is not thinking about work, it is so exponentially more connected and valuable that this is life for right now. And this is the phase of life we're in today. And so I really like thinking of this as a phase of life. This is the phase of life you are in right now. And I love it for both of us. And then maybe, 3-4 years later, when the company's even bigger, or maybe we sell it, or maybe we IPO, whatever that might be, we'll be in a different phase of life where we'll get to spend 70% of our time not doing work together.
But also, I think that even when we have our like quote unquote time off, something that I think is like healthy and good as well is it's not that like work goes out the window, but like we're like selecting what we want to talk about. So for example, it's like the big exciting ideas or like these are the good things that are happening, not like this is like what's going wrong at this stage in time. Like there's like a time and place for those conversations, but then like, you know what I mean? It's because like Arrae is like something that we're both so passionate about that like even when we're having our time off, it still comes up in discussions because we're excited about it and we want to like continue to make it bigger. So like we're talking about like the exciting bits,
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, just like any friendship, you have certain things that you talk about that are the hard things, and then some other things that you talk about the most fun things.
Yeah.
And so for you and I would say that we talk about fun things. We actually very often talk about only fun things. We don't really talk about bad things. But when it comes to the fun things, we're always talking about all of the amazing things that we're either looking forward to or the amazing things that we get to celebrate together, making that time off actually even more enjoyable.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, somebody asked, what do you think makes a good husband or wife in your case?
Oh, what do you think makes a good wife?
Yeah.
I haven't thought about this.
What makes me the perfect wife?
I'm thinking. Okay, so I think that what I really appreciate about you, okay, is that I think you really, okay, so this is I'm a little bit more traditional in this sense, but I really value that you just genuinely care for me. Because in many instances, I think that there's times where I literally don't have time to have lunch or water because I'll be in meetings from 7:30 till 4 o'clock, and with a 30-minute break in between to change, and so what you'll do is you'll either make breakfast for me, or you will find some time to give me some water, or you'll notice where I'm having some difficulties in my life, and you'll really help me do those things. And so I really appreciate that. It's just in general terms that you actually care for what I have to do. That is the first and foremost thing. And so I think just someone who cares for you so deeply is someone who is like, how can I not love that person with everything I have? Okay. And then the second thing also is I just think that you bring a different perspective to my life. And I realize that too, because you're just someone who is so different than I am. And I love that you bring a different perspective and a different kind of vision to my life. So for example, you want to travel all the time and do all these fun different things, and you want to go to places that I would never have thought to go to, and you dress well from 7 a.m. till you go to bed. And so these are all things that I don't really do as well as you do. And so I just really appreciate you being different, bringing a different kind of perspective to my life, but also just caring. I think those three things, it really makes it enjoyable to be married to someone. Yeah.
Okay, so my answer is, I think, mutual respect. I don't think that anyone here thinks that one person is smarter or better than the other. I think that there's like a lot of mutual respect and like almost like reverence about like what each of us are good at. Like when I think about you or when I talk about you, I'm like, Nish is like the smartest, and like he's so good at these things, so I feel like there's just this like mutual respect, which I think everyone should look for in whatever relationship they're in. And also I think like there's no like, so people settle for like the bare minimum sometimes, and I feel like neither of us have settled for the bare minimum, like it's always like going above and beyond for the other person. So like, if you see I'm tired, right, like you'll pick up after me, and it's not like, oh, like I'm too good to do this, or this is not my job, it's like we'll just do it to help each other. So I think like that's the other thing. And I don't know, like the third, it's like fun. It has to be fun.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah, that's what I missed. Absolutely, I missed that one. It's very important.
Yeah, it should be fun. And like, I don't know, we're like 12 years into our relationship, and it's like more fun.
Yeah,
like we have so much fun.
Yes,
like it shouldn't ever stop being fun.
Oh my God, we need to maximize the fun.
Like just every bit of fun,
every drop of fun that is available in the universe must be had. I completely agree with that.
Okay, so the last question we have time for, we're already over, Nish. My solo is going to get reduced in time because of you.
Sorry.
Okay. How does MB1 work?
You answer it first. You answer it.
Okay. So essentially, MB1 is a product that helps with all things metabolic health. Okay. So it helps with things like everything from energy production to cravings. Like it really helps with cravings and just our satiety in general. It helps with increasing basal caloric burn. And then we have clinically trialed ingredients in there, which kind of show that depending on your BMI, it can also help with fat loss as well. So you can go check the clinical trials on our website, but there's 2 ingredients in there specifically, which are they were very well studied with gold standards around their clinical trials. And those 2 ingredients are CQR 300 and IGOB 131. So that's kind of how the product works. In terms of my own experience, and Nish, you can speak to your own experience with the product as well. And we can talk. You should also probably talk about how the team took this and people who trialed it, basically team customers, whoever trialed it before launch, what the overall results were. But essentially, we tested this product for months, like 6 months before we launched it, and we went through a number of versions. So the version that is currently on the market personally, what it's helped me with is number one is cravings. As soon as I started taking the product, I noticed that I would be more satiated and less propensity for things like snacking or even like I don't want dessert that much anymore, you know? So that's like the first thing that I noticed, that I wasn't really craving like sweet things anymore. Number two is I track everything on my Aura ring. And so my basal caloric burn has consistently gone up. And by the way, I'm up even more again since like you and I talked about it. So I feel like those are the big ones.
Yeah, I completely agree. So what I love about MB1 is specifically is if what you're talking about there's a basal metabolic rate. And so we have some studies that show you can you can burn up to an extra 97 calories in your day by increasing your basal metabolic rate through MB1. And we have clinical studies around this. And what's really cool is that we have team members who actually have Apple Watches, and they've been tracking this over time, and it actually has increased. So when they're doing the workouts, they're noticing that they're burning more calories. When you're looking at their, keeping everything else the same, so keeping their lifestyle the same, keeping their diet the same, like the actual number of calories they're burning is actually going up. I think that's really, really cool to see. And also what's really interesting is not only just a anecdotal experience, we actually have clinical trial data experience to be able to prove this. And when you say gold standard, what gold standard means is that it's a double-blind controlled trial. And
no, it's double-blind, placebo-controlled, and randomized.
Correct. So double-blind, placebo-controlled, and randomized trial. And to be able to see these results is really, really exciting. And then to be able to actually, because we tested this amongst hundreds of people before we actually brought this to market, to be able to see these anecdotally, even in our circles, is very, very exciting. On top of that, the two ingredients you talked about, the reason they're also super exciting is because we have there's a bunch of metabolic health markers. So whether it's, looking at your BMR, whether it's looking at your increased calorie burn, looking at the way your blood sugar is, and looking at your overall kind of increased metabolism. So what's really cool is that the 15 clinical trials that we've done around our 4 key products actually show... 4 key ingredients really show how effective this is for not only all the health markers, but also when it comes to things like increased weight management, especially when you actually have fat to lose. So when you have this BMIs over 26, the product is so effective at allowing you to lose the fat. And we actually have some things on the website where you can go enter your BMI, and you'll be able to look at how much you'll be able to lose based on your BMI. And so what this does is we use the clinical trial data to kind of show you what the effects of this could be. And it's really cool because you can lose up to 12% of your body weight, obviously depending on your BMI. But we have clinical data to actually really prove this. So what makes this product really different is this product is generally meant for increasing your metabolic rate, but it's also so helpful for people who actually need fat to lose and actually have fat to lose, to help them with their weight management goals. And I think I want to make this really clear, because this is not like an Ozempic for people to take just to lose weight and look skinny when they already are skinny. Like this product is not for that. This product is meant to curb cravings, give you energy, increase your metabolism, and help you manage weight when you have weight to manage. But if that's not the case, then don't expect to take this if you are, 5 foot and 130 pounds and you want to lose weight just to look extra skinny. This product is generally not for you. And that's not why we created this product. So I just want to make that really, really clear.
Yeah. Also, like outside of the weight management thing, what I found really interesting was the impact that this has on blood glucose levels, which obviously like everyone on the team is like super, like it's like a constant conversation that happens at the office. And this was tracked on like using like a blood glucose monitor, and it really does help stabilize everything, which I think is like a pretty incredible impact that the product has.
Yeah, that's really cool. I use this all the time specifically for that, because actually I was noticing that my blood sugar levels were getting quite high, and so I really want to be able to regulate that. So the reason why I'm taking it all the time is just because I really want to be able to regulate my blood sugar levels and reduce the blood sugar spikes. And that is so important for me, because that actually gives me more energy throughout the day.
Yeah.
And so this product has done wonders for my energy, which allows me to perform better in the gym, which allows me to burn more calories. It is like, for me, that is what I'm really using this product for. And the benefits it has on that is actually phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. All right. Well, this has been fun.
Thanks, If.
I'll see you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
See you at home.